Hello students, how are you all? Today we are going to learn a new story. So let's start with the new lesson and a new story. Lesson number 34, The King of the Golden River, Part 1st. Long, long ago, in the mountainous part of a country, there was a fertile valley. There were many waterfalls leaping down the mountain tops, but not into the valley. They all ran down the other side of the mountain. Valley means the place between the two mountains. One of the falls was very high and shone like gold in the beams of the evening sun. Beams means light of the sun. People called it the Golden River. Now, though there were no streams running down to the valley itself, the wind constantly brought the clouds to the valley. Constantly means always or most often. Even when the rest of the country was dry, it always rained in the valley. In the valley, the wind and the clouds made the crops green, the hay high. Hay means the grass that is long, the apples red, the grapes purple, and the honey sweet. People call it the treasure valley, means the valley where there was a treasure of nature. The treasure valley belonged to the three brothers, Schwartz, Hans, and Gluck. The two older brothers were big, ugly, and wicked. They were good farmers, but they killed everything that was not profitable for them, even the little things like blackbirds and hedgehogs and crickets. So they did not care for anyone. They did not treat the servants well and gave them only poor wages. Means they paid their servants very less. They waited till the corn had become very expensive in the market and then sold it for twice its value. Means they sold their corn, that is the crops, at double value. They were very rich, but they never ever gave even so much as a penny to the poor. People called them black brothers. So the two elder brothers were called as black brothers. The youngest of the three brothers was only 12 years old. He was just the opposite of his brothers. He was kind to every living thing, though his own brothers were cruel to him and made him do all the cooking and the mending and the housework for them. So they treated the younger brother Gluck badly, and he was so kind, though he was 12 years old, but he was forced to do all the work at home. One evening, the two brothers had gone out. As usual, they warned Gluck to let nobody in and give nothing out. Gluck was to get their dinner ready for them. So, one day in the evening, when the brothers were going out, they warned Gluck to not to allow anybody to come inside and not to give anything to the others. So, it was raining very hard outside and the weather was very cold. Just then there was a double knock on the door. Gluck went to the window and put his head out to see who it was. He saw the most extraordinary looking gentleman standing at the door. The strange visitor was very short, with a large nose, red cheeks, curly mustaches, and merry twinkling eyes. He wore a conical cap as high as himself and a cloak 4 times as long. Cloak is a cloth that is worn by the kings, and the man wore a cloak that was 4 times longer than him. I am wet, let me in, said the stranger. I beg pardon, sir, said Gluck. I am very sorry, but I really can't. My brothers would beat me to death if I did any such thing. But Gluck saw how hard it was raining, and how cold it was, and how wet the gentleman looked. So he opened the door and let the stranger in. Gluck thought he would let the stranger get warm inside for some time and ask him to leave before his brothers come home. The stranger, however, did not plan of leaving. In fact, he told Gluck that he had had nothing to eat for 2 days and was very hungry. It melted Gluck's heart to hear this, so he decided to give the stranger a part of his own dinner. But before the stranger had eaten it, however, the wicked brothers returned. They were shocked to see the little gentleman sitting in the house. At once, the brothers began to shout at Gluck. Schwartz threw a rolling pin at the Gluck. At that instant, the stranger put in his conical cap, and the rolling pin went spinning to a corner of the room. The brothers turned to the visitor and ordered him to get out of the house. The little man asked them humbly to let him stay, as it was cold and wet outside. But the evil brothers wouldn't listen. They rushed at the old man to throw him out of the house. To their surprise, they found that they couldn't touch him. Instead, they were themselves swept into the corner with the rolling pin. Then the old gentleman gathered his cloak and cap and said, "At 12 o'clock tonight I'll call again. But since you have treated me so badly, it will be the last visit I pay you." Then he went away like a whirlwind. That night, a big storm woke the brothers. It shook the house and blew away the roof. Once again, the wicked brothers saw the strange visitor. He was sitting on a cloud, bobbing up and down. "You may go to your brother's room. I have not damaged it," he told Hans and Schwartz. "Remember, this is my last visit. You will find my card on the table." And with those words, he disappeared. In the morning, the brothers saw from the window that the storm had swept away whole trees and crops from Treasure Valley. Everywhere they saw only red sand and grey mud. The valley was a picture of ruin. The brothers then crept into the kitchen. On the kitchen table, there was a small white card, Southwest Wind Esquire. Now we'll see the second part of the story. Lesson number 35, The King of the Golden River, Part 2. Southwest Wind was true to his words. He did not return to Treasure Valley after that night. Neither did any other wind. So there was no rain. Nothing grew in Treasure Valley anymore. The brothers made no profits. The wicked brothers then began to make money by selling gold. They melted in a furnace the gold articles they had. They mixed a lot of copper in it and sold the mix as pure gold. Again, they made poor Gluck work in a furnace while they spent money on themselves. Soon, all the gold in the house was spent. Only one thing was left, a beautiful golden mug that belonged to Gluck. Gluck's uncle had given it to him when he was a baby. Glug used to drink both milk and water from it. A strange beard face was delicately carved on the mug. Gluck was very fond of the mug. He did not want to part with it. But his wicked brothers only laughed at him and threw the mug in the furnace. They asked Gluck to pour the gold when the mug was melted and went out on some wicked enterprise. Sadly, Gluck sat down to watch over the mug being melted. But strangely, after some time, he began to hear a voice singing from the furnace. He lifted the lid of the crucible, and what did he see? The face of his old bearded friend on top of the melted gold. Come, Gluck, my boy, said the voice from the crucible. Pour me out, I am too hot. Gluck was too astonished. He took hold of the crucible and tilted it to pour the gold. Instead of gold, a golden dwarf came out of the pot. His was the face carved on Gluck's mug. Pray, sir, said Gluck, rather hesitatingly. Were you my mug? I am king of what you call the Golden River, the golden dwarf told him. He added that another stronger king had turned him into a mug by magic. Glug had freed him from that enchantment. The golden dwarf went on to say that he had seen how kind Gluck was and how wicked and cruel his brothers were. Then he told Gluck a secret. If anyone poured 3 drops of holy water into the river where it started on the mountain top, the river would turn to gold for that person. A person could try this only once, and if anyone put unholy water in the river, he would be turned into a black stone. So saying, the dwarf jumped back into the furnace and disappeared. When Gluck told this to his brothers, they did not believe him at first and beat him. But Gluck stuck to his story. So at last they believed him and began to fight over who should have the first chance to go to the Golden River. They fought so much that the police came to see what had happened. Hans ran away when the police came, but Schwarz was caught and put into prison. Hans was happy that Schwarz was in prison. The very next morning, he went to the church, stole some holy water, and set off for the mountain. It was not easy to climb the mountain. He was tired and thirsty. Soon, Hans thought he would drink some of the holy water himself. Just as Hans raised the flask of water to his lips, he saw a little puppy on a rock. It looked as if it was dying of thirst. Hans only pushed the animal away with his foot, drank some water himself, and passed on. The climb now became more difficult. Hans felt thirsty again. He was going to drink some more of the water when he saw a little child lying on a rock ahead of him. The child was lying lifeless, its lips parched and burning. Ignoring the child, Hans drank some more water himself and passed on. The climb had now become very difficult. However, Hans reached the top of the mountain from where the Golden River sprang. A faint cry fell on his ear. He saw a weak old man stretched on the rock. Water, the man said. Water, I am dying. I have no water for you, replied Hans. He jumped over the old man's body and ran to the river. The sun was about to set. The river shone golden in the light of the setting sun. Hans threw the flask of holy water into the river. But alas, the river did not turn to gold. Instead, there was only a black stone where Hans stood. When Schwartz returned from prison, he took some of Gluck's money and bought some holy water from a bad priest and set out for the Golden River. While climbing the mountain, Schwartz too saw the fair child dying of thirst and passed on without giving him water. As he had climbed a little higher, he saw his own brother Hans stretched on a rock, asking for water. But the wicked Schwartz only laughed aloud and went on without giving him any water. Alas, when he cast the flask into the stream, he too was turned to stone. Gluck waited and waited for his brothers, but they did not return. At last, he decided to visit the Golden River himself. He went to a good priest who willingly gave him some holy water. Gluck was young and small, and he too found the climb very difficult. After he had climbed for an hour or so, he became very thirsty. He was about to drink some water when he, like his brother, saw an old man. The old man walked towards Gluck, leaning on a staff, and asked for some water. Gluck saw that the old man was pale, tired, and thirsty. So he gave him the bottle of water. The old man drank up nearly two-thirds of the water. Then he returned the bottle and wished Gluck good will. Gluck did not have any water himself, but as he went on, his path became easier. After climbing for a long time, when he became thirsty, he saw a small child. Gluck was sorry for him and gave him some water. The child began to smile, got up, and ran down the hill. Now only a few drops of water were left in the bottle. When Gluck came close to the mountain top, he was very thirsty himself. Just then he saw the poor little pup that was dying of thirst. I must help it now, thought Gluck, otherwise it may be too late. So he poured the remaining drops into the little dog's mouth. The dog sprang up, and in his place stood the king of the Golden River. He was very pleased with Gluck. The king put in Gluck's bottle some dewdrops from the petals of a lily. Then he told Gluck to cast it into the leaping river. Gluck did so, but the river did not turn to gold. However, it changed its course and began to flow through the treasure valley, making it rich and fertile once again. Gluck lived in the valley, helping the poor and the needy. His barns were always full of corn, and he never lacked for money. So, this was the story of the king of the Golden River.